We've all had this night, the one where you're packed into a car with the people who know you best. You're moving to a city, or you're staying behind, or you're just drifting. In Alexander Ullum's It Ends, this isn't just a prologue, it's the entire world. The film starts with the kind of banter that feels like a warm blanket, silly arguments about which animals could win in a fight, the shared shorthand of years of friendship. But then, a turn is missed. A GPS glitches, and suddenly the road stops being a way to get somewhere and starts being a mirror. The film doesn't care about the mechanics of this hellscape. It doesn't explain the logic. Instead, it forces us to sit in the back seat and watch what happens to the human soul when the horizon stops moving. Today, I want to talk about why It Ends is the most uncomfortably honest reflection of what it feels like to be young and stuck. Early on, we meet James. He's the one we probably relate to most if we're the type to solve our problems. When the road starts stretching into impossible miles, James doesn't panic. He calculates. He treats their predicament like a math equation. There's a specific kind of desperation in the way he stares at the odometer. You can feel his brain trying to find the rules of this nightmare. If they don't get hungry, if the gas doesn't run out, there must be a reason, right? But the film uses this to show us the limits of being smart. In life, we're told that if we work hard enough and analyze the data, we can navigate any crisis. James represents that part of us that refuses to accept that sometimes there is no logic. There is just the road. When the forest people first swarm the car, screaming for help, it's not a jump scare. It's a physical manifestation of communal panic. It feels like the noise of the world, everyone demanding your attention, everyone drowning, everyone wanting a seat in your car because they think you know where you're going. James's reaction is to keep driving, to maintain a schedule, because the alternative is admitting he has no control. As the miles turn into hundreds of thousands, the car stops being a vehicle and becomes a living room, then a prison, then a sanctuary. We watch the group fracture into different ways of being. Tyler, the soldier, the man of action, is the first to break. It's heartbreaking because he's the one who is supposed to endure. But when his military-honed discipline meets a problem that can't be fought or outrun, he just steps out. He chooses the silence of the woods over the noise of the hope. Day and Fisher represent a different survival tactic: acceptance. They start having screaming sessions. They lean into the absurdity. They find joy in stealing trinkets from other abandoned cars. There's a profound moment where they stop caring about the exit. They find a way to live within the trap. The film asks us, is it better to be like James, torturing yourself with the hope of a finish line that might not exist? Or is it better to be like Day and Fisher, who find a way to be happy in the middle of nowhere? The psychological toll is visible, not in their faces, but in their silence. The way they stop looking out the windshield and start looking at each other, or worse, looking at nothing at all. By the time James is alone in that car, the movie has transitioned from a thriller into a meditation on solitude. When the rain finally hits the windshield after 1,000,000 miles, it doesn't feel like a relief. It feels like a threat. Because when you've spent that long in a static, unchanging purgatory, any change feels like a judgment. The ending of this film is going to be quite debatable. When James finally sees the sign that says "Road Ends," it's not a triumph. He reaches a field. He reaches the limit of the world. Think about what that feels like. To spend your entire life, or in his case 1,000,000 miles, striving for the end of the road, only to find that there's nothing there but more trees and a dead stop. The film doesn't give us the satisfaction of an answer, because adulthood doesn't give us the satisfaction of an answer.
The road ends sign is a cruel joke. It's the realization that the destination we've been promised our whole lives, the career, the stability, the arrival, is just a sign in the middle of a field. It ends works because it taps into that universal fear that we are all just driving in circles, fueled by a tank that never empties and a hunger that never settles. It's a film about the transition from being a student, where every road is mapped out for you, to being an adult, where the road only goes as far as you're willing to drive it, and the monsters are just other people who are just as lost as you are. In the end, maybe the horror isn't that the road goes on forever. Maybe the horror is how quickly we get used to it, how quickly we turn a nightmare into a routine.